Crypto market update. So, not much on my end. Still on cruise control. Still riding my long from here all throughout this. Just trend riding. I think that will likely see some resistance, big resistance at 4,000 right here. And obviously some resistance around the 5,000 mark, but we're not too far from 4,000. We're also kind of creating a bit of a trend line here, right? So could start to channel up this trend line. Anyway, something along those lines. And when the trend starts to deviate from this line, and if it starts to shoot up vertically, especially if it pushes into this major fib level up here, that's when you know that some hedging and profit taking will probably be called for, right? So, like I mentioned yesterday, my overall goal from here on end, bull or bear, will be to trade to accumulate more Bitcoin. Predominantly because I think Bitcoin's bullish long term as an investment. Obviously, year after year, only 2014 produced negative returns. Every single other year was positive returns. Still one of the best long-term investments, and because we have scaling solutions and consensus with segregated witness and other things and fundamentals like Lightning Network, atomic swaps, side chains, smart contracts, all that stuff. If you don't know what any of that stuff is, then just look it up. There's lots of information on Reddit and on the internet on that stuff, right? So I'm just riding it. Nothing much for me to think about in relation to this. Yesterday I said there could always be the potential for a throwback, right, where it retests prior resistance, turns support. But looking at it on a smaller time frame, I don't really know if the throwback's really going to be that far. I mean, unless it turns into something like this and then has a dip. And then perhaps that would like complete and touch a trend line. So a throwback would kind of touch this, but I don't know. We just broke out too. So often when Bitcoin breaks the all-time high, the dips, the initial dips, and I would say initial because this thing just started, right? We had the breakout, we had consolidation, a little pennant, another move up, and now we're having kind of like a bit of a dip. But it's only really 9% above the breakout point for a total of 16% above the breakout point. If you look at other parts of the trend, you didn't really get a lot of long, big dips and stuff right off the bat. You didn't even get a retest. On this breakout, you didn't even get a throwback to retest prior resistance, right? And so I think if I were to kind of look at this, I think we're kind of closer to forming some kind of patterns like this on the way up. So 4,000 is not even that far away. So which is kind of making me lean more towards the 5,000 mark. Although I think that the next level of resistance, because you see how we hit this fib level right on the nose, obviously 4,000 will probably be the next level of resistance. So we consolidate, and if we spike up and create another flagpole, then it'll probably you'll probably hit that 4,000 resistance, and then maybe we see a bigger throwback retracement, perhaps to test this resistance level. So we'll see. This is all normal market behavior. Having throwbacks and consolidation is actually very bullish. It would be a lot more bullish than if Bitcoin just broke out and went like this. Right? If Bitcoin broke out and went like this, then obviously you can expect some pretty severe shakeouts, right? So it's kind of it's moving fast, but it's still kind of slow and steady. Like as you can see here, there's plenty of consolidation that happened over the course of probably a few weeks or so, right? A week or so. So a lot of consolidation that happened there, which was bullish. And you just have to know how to read market behavior and not get shaken out like the plebes, right? A lot of plebes getting shaken out of this right here and calling for the bear trend, and people throwing out ridiculous assumptions like, oh, it's a double top. It's like, no, that's actually more of an ascending triangle. And that's actually a very, very bullish pattern, right? It's not a double top. We had all the shakeouts and backside of the trend here. We're in a recharge, like I showed you. Like I showed you on the larger time frames, the 1 week stochastic RSI does not mess around. Look at... no, that's not right. One sec. There you go. Okay. The 1 week stochastic RSI doesn't mess around, right? This is for the larger trends. If you want to measure momentum, I find the 1 week stochastic RSI is actually being the most accurate. And it's just one recipe in the cake, right? It's not the entire thing. You don't want to just trade off of a momentum indicator alone, because that's stupid. But you could add it in conjunction with fibs as well as trend lines and identifying market behavior like continuation patterns. But anytime I've seen it cross under or crossover, it usually signifies stupid ads. Usually signifies tops and bottoms, right? So you can see here we crossed over, and that was a local top. We crossed under. When we were down here, we were crossing under, and I bought that dip. And this stochastic RSI told me on the larger time frame we had recharged momentum, and so I felt pretty confident that we're starting into a fresh bull trend, right? Fresh bull trend. Fresh recharge momentum. Remember the last time that happened right here? So there you go. All right, so, and then obviously right here, we crossed under, and that was a start of another move. Here we crossed under, and that was a start of another big move, and same with the local tops. Boom, boom, boom. So this is like just showing you momentum, market momentum. How much fresh recharge, how much fresh buying power and juice do we have to push this bad boy up, right? So everything, I think there's a lot of confluence between Fibonacci extension levels, between looking at continuation patterns, between recharged momentum and the fundamentals, right? The fundamentals being extremely bullish, right? Also things like Russia saying that they want to get into Bitcoin mining and stuff like that and using satellite chips. It's very, very bullish as far as long-term investments concerned. And even if we start to see, another thing that could be bullish is if we start to see the SEC crack down on token sales and secondary markets for tokens, that's going to be even more bullish for Bitcoin, because that's going to end up clearing out a whole bunch of tokens. But that we don't know if that's going to happen or not. But that would definitely separate the treasure from the trash in a lot of ways anyways. All right, so that's Bitcoin. Let's look at BCH. I'm still riding that. So another kind of like consolidation pattern here, a little bit on the drippy end. Depends on what chart you look at. Just to recap, we had a descending trend line. We broke it. We went sideways. One of my favorite, aside from a bloody market, this is one of my favorite patterns to trade, is this sideways after a broken trend line. And so I sent out a trade alert. right down here at the bottom. We bought the bottom, and that's that. So consolidation pattern here. If I look at Kraken, I'm still riding this. Bit of a lopsided consolidation pattern. And I think Btrex actually seems probably has a cleaner chart. So we don't have exact same price discovery. And obviously there could still, like this, the Btrex chart actually looks the cleanest in my opinion. But Btrex also had the most bullish BCH market. See, Btrex is just kind of forming like a pennant. But look how high it went, right? It went to like half a Bitcoin. So, so basically this just to me looks like a consolidation. And so Dr. D is saying that Btrex has the highest volume. So generally the market with the highest volume is the better chart to watch, in my opinion. If we look at BCC USD, we get another similar consolidation pattern. You see, you got this like flagpole, you know. So anytime you see that, and then some retracement and some consolidation where establishes a floor, it generally signifies a continuation pattern. So I'm still riding this. You know, if I were to just toss in an extension here, I mean, you could, you know, this hit 1.618, and if I were to do an extension on, let's say, this bigger move, you know, pushes us to at least up to this area. If I were to do some retracements, let's see, do the daily. If I were to do retracements just based off of, I mean, this chart is kind of ridiculous, but you know, we could push up. If we were to retrace at a 50% area, we could push up into this area. Anyway, so I've got my orders stacked above 0.02, stacked, you know, between pretty much here and here, right? So we'll see. Obviously, if it fails, it fails. But so far, I'm just being patient. Obviously, you know, the majority of my money in swing trading is just through trend riding and being patient and not getting shaken out on throwbacks and retracements. So that's that. Yes, I sent out an alert in the room, and I don't think that the party's necessarily over. So looking at Zcash, right? I didn't send out a trade alert because it was late at night. And the thing is that I was interested in Zcash when it bottomed out here, but I kind of wanted a little bit more confirmation. I wanted to see how these larger caps would respond to this bull market, if Bitcoin would eat all their lunch and we'd get more blood, or if they would start to turn bullish. I mean, this isn't exactly, I mean, the volume here is not exactly the kind of volume we had before, but it is kind of the first signs of a possible reversal. And, you know, the reason why I say that is because you do have a lot of resistance in through this zone right here, right? And it's come all the way down to kind of retest this resistance, and, you know, prior resistance turned support. It seems like it made a floor. It broke the descending trend line, and this is my favorite breakout pattern because it means I still get in relatively early, right? It kind of made either a double bottom or a higher low, so it seems like it's establishing a floor. So now what we need to wait and see is if it breaks above this area right here, right? So I bought some, I scaled in to some Zcash last night. It's not a huge position, right? I'm still, you know, I'm still managing risk through position sizing in case it flops. We're not in the full recharge yet, but I don't mind having a taste if it starts to show some green after the descending breakdown. So the next thing, if we get some consolidation, the next thing I would look for is if it breaks this line and then You know, if we get a throwback to retest this resistance area and, you know, maybe get a consolidation pattern in through here, then I think that would be fairly bullish. But the question is whether or not these major altcoins are going to do a dead cat bounce and bounce to, you know, let's say the 61.8% area and then flop, like a kind of return to normal type of thing, like, oh, they're back, it's bullish, and then it flops type of thing. So the question is whether or not it's going to do that, or whether or not it's actually going to you know, possibly make a third wave up and break into new highs. You know, if it did break into new highs, well, I'm looking at extension wise. Oops. You know, we're looking at 0.26 quarter Bitcoin. That probably would take the price to like $1,000. Let's just see here. Let's just play with the larger move. Yeah, so on the dollar chart, you know, $800 or whatever. So we'll see what happens. If it flops, well, it's not going to break the bank, but you know, I definitely want to get in on some altcoin action, because what we could end up seeing happening is since Bitcoin broke the all-time high, every time it does that, we generally get a new wave of new money. And if that happens, then they could start essentially, we could see a second wave of altcoins. Just to give you a little recap on some of the coins that I had recently purchased. I was going for some more, you know, mid-cap, cheaper coins. Again, not huge position sizes. You have to really position size based on liquidity. Unless you really, really believe in a project and maybe you know the people or whatever and you can go YOLO on it. But, you know, we broke this line and we've established kind of like a floor all through this area here. You know, we have a bit of a floor happening in this area. And so it broke that line, and we kind of have like a little bit of a bull flag, or like a retracement that is retesting, a throwback to prior resistance into this area, right? So broke out, and now it's retesting it, which is normal market behavior for a continuation pattern or a bull market. So this could be an early phase. And you will notice that there has been an increase in volume. 2 big volume candles. So that could be a start. So one of my, you know, two of my tricks, two of my best trading tricks that I do consistently over and over and over again is, you know, buying dips on severe blood for bounce plays and identifying early reversals, right? Getting in really, really early on bullish reversals. And I just keep on doing that over and over and over again. I look for markets with those same patterns. You know, you don't need a billion different tricks to make money. In fact, you're better under trading and sticking with a few solid one-trick ponies and just doing those over and over again, right? Like if you feel like you need to trade all the time to feel productive, chances are you're probably going to perform less well, and you're not going to be as productive. You might even just waste time. So, I mean, you want to practice this one thing, but, you know, seasoned traders don't overtrade. Right? Seasoned traders don't have anything to prove. They don't need to feel like they need to trade all the time to feel productive, right? You just take the quality trades. And if you're a seasoned trader, you'll learn to JOMO, joy of missing out. But we'll get into that later. Okay, another market that I'm in is I bought the dip, rebought the dip on Edgeless. Right, so this is a market that I rode since the bottom when it was on Liqui before it even hit Btrex. So I don't mind continuously playing markets that I've already made a lot of money in, right? Because usually when I buy back in, it's only with a portion of the profits to manage risk. You know, so, you know, I'll buy back in, and let's say I make a bunch of profit by selling up here. You know, I'll buy back in with maybe like a quarter of that on a dip, right? So I bought in on this dip right here because, again, same thing. Prior resistance turns support. Lots of blood. I mean, we had a big capitulation candle right here. Look at that volume. This is during the token hack. That brought the price rate down. And we also have that, you know, kind of descending trend line that broke right here. So I think it's probably due for a nice little fresh charge. And RLC is another one that I rebought back. See, and the difference between the way I trade altcoins, or at least in this last round, and a lot of people who trade altcoins, a lot of people who are in these markets just bag held. They're just bag holders, right? They didn't sell, and maybe they're cost averaging down. So the difference is I was in all these markets, but I sold, right? Whether it was at profit or break even or a slight loss. And now I'm buying them all back in cheaper, right? So same pattern here, right? That's the difference, right? So I don't mind when I buy back in cheaper on something that is sold. Like, you know, Edgeless I made a ton of money on. It was a very, very good trade. So I don't mind playing that. So again, RLC bought back in down here. Same pattern, sideways. And you notice how I've just kind of been hunting for some newish Btrex coins. They've been established. They've already had big sell-offs. They're still new. This hasn't really had a mega pump yet. There's a lot of volume now on Btrex. A lot of new money might be coming in. So some of these markets could get really hot. And GNT is another one that I rebought into the depth. Again, just a quick recap. For anyone who's new, I'll just do a quick recap of GNT. Definitely one of our big trades of this year. I almost traded this market with perfection, actually. You know, I bought down here. We bought down here in the room. We did a live analysis right here in the room. We bought down here. Sold half of it right up here into this 1.618 extension. I cut out this wick here because this is just noise. Sold right here, half of that position. Sold another quarter of the position right here on the dead cat bounce when we saw weakness, and I sent out that market report saying I was reducing everything. And then sold the last of my position on the breakdown of this immediate trend line. And now we're kind of pushing in. Similar story. Prior resistance turns support and a breakdown of an immediate descending trend line. Right? So I rebought back in, not with the entire amount. I made a lot of money off this, and just with a percentage, right? It's all effectively, this is all just risk management, right? And yeah, we have a first higher low here. So let's see if this holds up. But, you know, we're starting to make higher lows, right? You can see 3 points of contact here, but that doesn't mean anything, right? It's still a little bit too early. I mean, you had multiple points of contact here and it still broke down. Anyways, so that's basically it. That's kind of just a recap of some of the markets that I'm in. Another market I've kind of been looking at. I'm still holding some long-term investments, so I'm probably not going to buy back in. But if you completely sold out of ETC, this is a market that could potentially have a bounce at this area. I'm not going to buy it because if it bounces, I've got some long-term, but you know, kind of retraced down to this area, and we'll see. It depends if we get a wave of alts or back type of wave, but it's still kind of high, so we'll see. All right, so that's it for this update.